PRX.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and friends beyond the binary, it's time for the podcaster who technically is wearing I guess like a pajama top over a regular shirt because there's a chill in the air. I don't know, you can even hear it in my nose there, but it's technically just a long johns. But you know why any of this is up for discussion is because it's time for Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. Hey, everybody, Scoots, and I don't know how you're listening to Sleep With Me right now, but don't you want to be listening to the show in the most comfortable way possible? How about with a little bit of a Sleep With Me swag on your forehead? So, I mean, you know, and maybe anybody else, you know, you say, oh boy, sleeping with my boyfriend here. Well, the most comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me is with Sleepphones, and you could get Sleep With Me branded Sleepphones at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleepphones. It's amazing, comfortable way to listen to Sleep With Me. They have wireless sleep phones. They have corded sleep phones. They have wireless with wireless charging sleep phones. So you don't need your phone there. And, you know, you won't keep your partner awake or your pet awake. They're great for running. They cover your ears. You could even, some people even pull them down over their eyes. And you could get those at sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleepphones. Treat yourself in the new year, because I don't know which way you're listening to Sleep With Me now. Don't you want to listen the most comfortable way? That's sleepwithmepodcast.com/sleepphones, and use Sleep With Me, one word, Sleep With Me at checkout for $5 off. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it's time to talk about tonight's sponsor, Helix. Get over there and take their Helix quiz at helixsleep.com/sleep. And you know I love my Helix. I don't like traveling because I don't like to be without my Helix Dusk Luxe because I sleep so good. Helix is a premium mattress brand, provides tailored mattresses based on your unique sleep preferences. Helix has 14 unique mattresses, including luxury models, mattress for big and tall sleepers, mattress for kids. And the way you pick the right mattress is you take that Helix quiz. You'll find your perfect mattress in under 2 minutes. Your personalized mattress is shipped straight to your door free of charge. You get to test out your Helix in your own home. They offer a 100-night risk-free trial, so you could try out your new Helix mattress, see how your body adjusts, and if you decide it's not the best fit, you're welcome to return it for a full refund. And everybody's unique. Everybody sleeps differently. That's why Helix has several different mattress models to choose from, each designed for specific sleep positions and feel preferences. Like I said, when I took that Helix quiz, I got matched with the Helix Dusk. I got the Helix Dusk Luxe because I sleep on my side. I sleep on my stomach. I like to sleep cool. It fits all those needs, checks all the boxes, man, and more so than that because the proof is in the sleep, right? Not only is it the best mattress I've slept on, but setup's fast and easy, delivered straight to your door in a box for free, and you get to try it out for 100 nights risk-free. If you don't love it, I know you will. They'll pick it up for you, give you a full refund. All right, so get over there. Helix is offering up to 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/sleep. This is their best offer yet. It won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Thanks, everybody. All right, everybody, it is time for the Sleepy Supporter Zone, and this person is I may get a little choked up here. This episode, in a bunch of episodes, should be dedicated to my friend Cornelia, who we tried a referral program, and Cornelia has been the largest person who's spread the word about the show, formally and informally brought so many people to the podcast, given so much to me, the show, and the community around the show. And I just want Cornelia to know, wherever you're listening, Cornelia, we really love and care about you, and we're so grateful for your presence and for you being you, basically, is what it comes down to. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't even want to do it without listeners like Cornelia. And if you want, you say, well, what did Cornelia do? Just let other people know about the show, your genuine experience about the podcast, and just being you in a kind, loving way, loving yourself, being interested in people, without, I don't know. Thank you so much, Cornelia. And like I said, I know you're hearing this, and I hope it's putting a smile on your face, and know that me and the other listeners are there holding your hand. So, thank you, Cornelia. That's the first part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone. The second part of the Sleepy Supporter Zone is you getting the support you need right now. If you're having a tough time, there's resources you could connect with right now in our show notes, including international resources about being a part of positive change in community, not just saying Black Lives Matter, not just saying stop API hate, not just saying support Ukraine, but learning more and then taking action. There's links to resources where you could do that in our show notes. And one of the actions we're taking is building hygiene kits for people experiencing homelessness. You could do it and you could distribute it right in your own community, or you could be a part of sleepwithmepodcast.com/midnight mission is the newsletter I use for building the hygiene kits together, or buying them, or reaching out to your local homeless shelter or support services and seeing what do they need, or asking people you encounter on a regular basis. So, sleepwithmepodcast.com/midnight mission. Oh, Mystery Bart, a lot of people help out on this show. Who are they?
Posty poster son sounds like a near fall. Wrote the theme song. Edits episodes. Carl W. the legend. Also edits episodes. Ashley, Kenny, Scotty, Jennifer. Runner. Eric and the team at Astound are on the website. I am the Mystery Bart. I do the lullabies, yeah. I do commissions at jonathanmann.net. I'll write a song for you. Any reason at all. You can tell me the story and I'll make it personal. You see the kindness shine straight on through when the listeners form their own Facebook group. Keith, Stacy, Sarah, Julie, and Jennifer. These are your moderators. Get support dear Scooter on Patreon. Buy the merch and support the sponsors. You can find anything you want at sleepwithmepodcast.com. And we're so proud that we could dance. Rusty Biscuit, Lois, Anna like banana. Leah does the transcripts.
Thanks, Mystery Bard. I'm at Dear Scooter on Twitter and Instagram. That's where you can find me. And what do you say we slow it down and get on with the show? All right, everybody, coming up here is a episode people were asking about. It's the original Rom-con episode where I accidentally came up with the idea for a convention that already existed. The episode that came out, the last episode that came out refers to this. So I wanted to put this I know it's a fan favorite and people were asking me about it. So without further ado, coming out of the vault is this Rom-con episode. This episode from Scooter from about 500 episodes ago. Go ahead, Scooter. And let's get on with the show. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome to Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep with you with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. What I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake, whether it's thoughts, feelings, physical sensations, changes in routine or schedule. You're out of town, somebody else is out of town. Whatever it is, whether it's something physical, something in your feelings or mind, I'd like to take your mind off that. The way I'm going to do that, the way I'm going to create a safe place is, as we say, I like to smooth it, I like to pat it, and I like to rub it down. And then I like to puff it up. I do put some hot air in there. I don't like to, puff it like I do the puffing with the hands. Could you feel that? I did some puffing there. Pillowing. And I'm going to do some kneading. I don't know if I've kneaded on the podcast before, so maybe that could be our metaphor for tonight. But if what I am going to specifically do is send my voice across the deep, dark night. I'm going to use these lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, a pace. I'd say it's a measured pace, but I'm not good at measuring things. Tonight, extra creaky dulcet tones, and pointless meanders, they come free. What did I cross my fingers about? I said I'm going to come back to something. Oh, kneading. But here's the thing. I'm going to keep you company, as I said in the deep dark night, to take your mind off stuff. If you have trouble sleeping, I've been there. And I'd like to distract you from that. And if you're new, here's what to expect. The first few minutes of the show, which you already heard, are business. That's how we keep the podcast and over 650 archived episodes free. So that's that part. Then there's an intro, which is about 12 minutes, kind of a show within a show. And I guess it's a show in a if I knew what a microcosm was, I'd say it's a show in a microcosm, but I'm not exactly sure what that is. But it's an example. The intro kind of sets the mood. Some people fall asleep during it. Some people skip it. And some people stick around because it's similar every time, where I try to explain how the podcast works using a metaphor that I just thought of or something on my mind. It gets kind of like a monologue, but heavy on the log part. Ideally, you'll be sawing logs. And another phrase I don't quite understand. So that's the intro. Then there'll be a story portion. Tonight will be like an unknown story, bedtime story. It may be known to you, or it may remain unknown. You may sleep through it, ideally. So that's the structure of the show. Also, there's some thank yous at the end. And then here's the thing. A podcast you don't need to listen to. You can kind of listen to it. You can barely listen to it. You could turn it way down into the mumble zone. Or you could say, well, Scooter's always in the mumble zone. You could barely listen, or you could totally listen. I'll be here all the way to the end to keep you company, whether you fall asleep in the first 5 minutes or you don't fall asleep till the end, or you just need a friend to keep you company. I'll be here. So you don't need to listen. And I guess because of that, there's no pressure to fall asleep. I'm here to be your companion, your storyteller. So gather around the fire. How come, here's an idea, this would be an efficiency thing, because I was thinking of kneading, and then I was thinking about that storyteller example, like the idea of everybody gathering around the fire, and I've never seen, like, a campfire storyteller do any kneading, but here's an idea for campers. Tell a bedtime story while you're kneading some dough, for breakfast the next day. Now, I know, this might not translate because not everybody sleeps in a kitchen or kitchen. Are you kitchen adjacent? If you, I've been trying to, I throw that every time I want to sound smart. I add that adjacent in there. Because, we say, hey, are you kitchen adjacent? I mean, your room. Because I'm going to be kneading and telling bedtime stories tonight and every night. I guess probably not, because they say they say stuff about carbs. I mean, this will be a whole wheat loaf. A lot of hot air is going to be in between that's why my loaf rises so high. There you go. Any bakers that are looking for an autobiography title, I'll auction that one off. We're almost there. That would be Rolf's. My Rolf rises so. Isn't my Rolf rises so high? That's more of a tongue twister. But a baker's story. That would be the subtitle. My loaf rises so high. How high does that's more of a joke setup. How high does my loaf rise? So high you can nearly touch the sky. That wouldn't be a punchline. That's more of like song lyrics tucked in place of a punchline, because I'm not, where was I? I'm kneading some bread right now as I tell you the rest of this intro. Can you see how comforting that is? I don't know. Maybe this will be the final stage of my therapy of creating this podcast. You say, well, when did Sleep With Me? Okay, this is another thing people say a lot, other than kitchen adjacent. They say peak podcast. So they say, well, when was peak Sleep With Me? Well, when Scoot started kneading dough while he was recording. Well, he was kneading the air. He was needing a lot of things, but most of them only could be provided at institutes in, the Northern European region. And he was banned from most of those because they said, hey, boys, I brought my own loaf. Who's ready with it? Who's ready to put some of those round things on my frontal lobes? Because I brought not only my frontal lobes, I brought myself a bunch of loaves. Actually, I didn't. I just brought some, bread, and I stopped at the store. Hold on. Sorry, these Northern European scientists, with the scientists of the brain are a bit confused, listeners. So just bear with me here for a moment. Let me get back to them. And I'll refrain from calling anyone Gunther, because I'm probably pronouncing it. No, I brought everything to make. That's a new thing I'm working on, kneading therapy. Remember when you said that to me? I have a whole different definition of it because it starts with a K. And I could constantly make jokes here. You needing some help? Welcome. What is it? Which institute is this? Maybe we could. This could be a new thing. I know it doesn't fit into the whole paleo thing, but we could put some other stuff in. I do like to use. I put some those multigrain cereals. I put 2 packets of those in this particular loaf. Tell me more. I don't know. Would that be off-putting if the therapist was kneading? Oh, you need to go behind the mirrors. Okay, the 2-way mirrors. Well, that'll be comforting. I'll watch myself kneading in the window. And I'll talk to myself, as we usually do with these sessions. Tell me more, Drew, as we knead the bread here. Before you go into the 2-way mirror room, could you give me, I need 300 grams of warm water. Warm water, not hot. Thank you. You just mix half hot water and half cold. How many degrees do you have? I think, thank you. In my best to everyone else in Zermatt. Thank you. Great. Hey, I'm back. I'm going to have to check out soon because, this one they said is going to change everything. And that was before I told them about the kneading of the bread. And you should see their pencils moving as I knead this dough. I think they're inferring things from the way I knead dough. And wait till they see what I got cooked up because, I will be kissing the dough later. I'm saving that for, to really, there's one thing I love about 2-way mirrors. It's trying to make the people behind them laugh. And I've never made out with dough. But can you imagine how many minutes I can eat up telling the dough how much I need it? They're going to be cracking up. I think that translates across all languages too. But let me get back to the regular podcast. Oh, hey, if you're new to Sleep With Me, welcome. Podcast's a little bit different, a little bit strange, a little bit goofy. I'm the kind of person that but really, when I'm making the safe place, I am trying to knead out a place with that motion that says, hey, let me mix it up and break it up. It feels a little bit safer. And most of the way I need things is by being a goofball. But really, I'm here to keep you company. I have trouble sleeping, and I have it since I was a kid. And the whole idea of this podcast is it gives you a little bit of a bedtime story, or here at the beginning, a little bit of a rambling intro to give you something to listen to other than your thoughts, to keep you company. And if you want, let's just do 1 minute of side-by-side kneading here. Okay, go ahead and take your hand. You can knead your pillow or your sheets. You could lightly knead your pet if you have one, and they'll let themselves be kneaded. But to go ahead, 2 hands. I'm just kneading the air, and that's a gentle motion. Are your fingers in unison, or are they? Are they, you know what I mean? Are they all moving at the same time? Or are your pinky, do you lead with your pinky or your index finger? Okay, let's try kneading. Let's try leading with our middle finger. Kneading to lead, need to lead. How about that? Need to lead. A handbook in baking and leadership. He was the one that, perfected the middle finger kneading method that was, banned in all countries. Okay, let's try with our ring finger because our ring fingers never get enough attention. Oh, good kneading. Wow. I've never seen anyone knead as good as you. great kneading. And, whether you need me tonight or you just kind of say, well, whatever, there's no less offensive word that sums up Scoots other than loaf. He's a bit of a loaf. You mean he's a loafer? No, I don't even know if he has any loafers, but he's a bit of a loaf. A little bit different than a loafer. He may be the only loaf. He's the only human that's been described as a loaf, and it's properly fit. You say, well, what do you mean when you say loaf? You say, well, I guess you don't listen to Sleep With Me. You know what I mean. Well, is it a bad term? No, it's a general descriptive term, Scooter. He's a loaf. What does it mean? Well, he's a handful. Okay, so, but, the rest of it, you got to listen and get to know the show, I guess. He needs with his middle fingers sometimes. He needs to lead, and he leads to need. And you know what, to be honest, I lead in my need, because sometimes I need some comfort in the deep, dark night. And I'm here to provide that for you. So, it's back-to-back years of self-care, and I'm glad you chose this show. And I hope it can help. Give it a few tries. Most reviewers say it takes somewhere between 3 and 20 times. They say, oh, okay, I was asleep during it. It doesn't make any sense. So whether you need to lead or, you need, you need instead, or you need indeed. There's another book title. I don't know what it would be about, but a need indeed. I guess that would be in a mystery, one of my mysteries. Like that would be another, like a mystery, like Agatha Christie style. A need indeed. And it'll have a baking pin on the cover, of course. So anyway, whatever it is you need, I hope I can help you fall asleep. Give the podcast a few tries. I appreciate you coming by, and I really yearn and strive to help you fall asleep. Thanks. Let's keep the show going. Sleep With Me is brought to you by Progressive. Progressive helps you compare direct auto rates from a variety of companies so you can find a great one, even if it's not with them. Quote today at Progressive.com to find a rate that works with your budget. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations. Hey, everybody, it's Scoots here, and when you hear this, it'll be well past Valentine's Day, even when I'm recording this. I guess I'm beyond the safety boundaries, you'd say, of Valentine's Day, which makes me, able to record a V-Day episode. And technically, this doesn't have anything to do with Valentine's Day. Just somehow Valentine's Day and romance are synonymous. And I teased this episode a few weeks ago in an opening when I said that I was acting all aloof. I said, well, one day I'll do a rom-com with me and reminders. And I don't know if you could hear it in my voice. Sometimes I'm, my method acting that I use, I can get so deep in that it just seems like I'm playing the, I don't know what role, the buffoon. And, sometimes I'm just playing coy. So I had promised to do an episode about my rom-com with reminders, acting like I hadn't had well, I guess this is one of those long stories that becomes a podcast episode, because and this is a yearly thing. It's become a tradition of one of my many traditions of futility. And if you're a regular listener, I can recap. I think I've made 2 episodes in an attempt to partner with Venmo, which is like a payment app or something. And I said, well, why don't we combine that with a dating app and just call it Datemo, but M-O-I, which you would pronounce not date. Well, I guess I would pronounce it Date Moi. And I guess you could, but it's a Datemo. And I always thought the idea sold itself. It turns out it didn't sell to anybody but the sleeping masses, which is a good thing. But I thought it would be great I don't know. To me, it just seems like it would date Mo. Where do you go for more Mo dates? Date Mo. If you want to date moi, go to date moi. And a lot of people are already on there, and they already have friends. So it's just an idea. I was putting out, free ideas for the corporate. I don't know if that's a corporation. I would just presume it is. Maybe it's just not one of those other things that has the power of corporations, but even less accountability. What are those, like VCs or whatever they're called? Yeah, but so that was like an idea I have yearly. Usually it's an hour. Like usually I give Valentine's Day plenty of room, especially once again I don't know. I think it's on the 14th. Again, I'm not sure if it's the 12th or the 14th. I always make my dinner reservations on the 12th, and that's wrong. So I guess it is the 14th. But don't worry, it's not a problem anymore. We're recording now, but so. So I think the last time I did it was like I tried to do a Halloween pitch a year and a half ago, and I said, well, what if we get some pumpkin carving going around Des Moines? We start supporting events, and that didn't take off. So then I had the idea for which I kind of which was Rom-con. Patent pending, trademark pending, by the way. If that's not trademarked, you heard it here first, Rom-con. And that ended up being a big thing. If you say, why Scoot's been so distracted? It's Rom-con has been distracting me because in some sense, I thought Rom-con was going to be the big moment when all the money started coming in from Datemo. And it would be like this giant speed dating opportunity. And we could bring, it could be for everybody. I mean, not everybody, but everybody would say, hey, okay, you seem like you're going to be nice to people who would do let's talk. Turns out you need a staff for all those things. And you also need the date mode to exist and, some sort of backing. But what I did do, I did have some foresight because I was just sitting around and they say, all these experts say, if you're going to, when you get overwhelmed, break it into break your problems. First of all, they say, don't view it as a problem. View it as they say, don't view it as obstacles. They say, view it as an opportunity. I say, oh, yeah, I can't wait. But an opportunity to be humbled, another opportunity for me to put my head down. And they say, no, learning opportunity. And they say, right, that's what I said. That's what I meant. But they also say, break it into little parts. So as I was fantasizing and waiting for I was waiting, this was what could be the more auspicious start to date mode than me waiting around for my phone to ring from Venmo or another company that I had. There's other companies now that are doing that, but they don't rhyme with date mo. Like Date Zell would be that sound like someone that's for gazelles. You say, oh yeah, we're zoologists. And we just call it date cell, but it's really just gazelle breeding for science, of course. But so where was I? Oh, so I was like, okay, let's break this up before I conquer the world of dating apps and ideally get have a date, but I really don't have time, especially when I'm trying to be the. You see, I took 10 steps forward in my imagination. I said, okay, well, we don't have a dating platform called Datemo, except in my imagination. We don't have the backing of Venmo for Datemo and their platform, which, again, would be easy. We could have skinned it for next Valentine's Day. It could just be a skin, and where you overlay it or whatever. We don't have to use the word skin. So we don't have any of that. And then I said to myself, well, let's make these plans bigger, and let's go with Rom-con. and that'll be the first romance convention for romance. And, but, no funny business. That's what it would say under the thing. We got our eyes on you. Meet nice people, maybe hold hands. We got a soda fountain, Rom-con. Well, those are some of the things I had planned for it. Soda fountain, coffee shop, more activity, game shows. I was thinking, because they said, well, movies, but that's not good. Game shows with lots of breaks, so then you can discuss, or you could have buzzers at the table and you say, man, you're out, man. And I say, okay, well, I'm actually the founder of Rom-con, so I can buzz myself out. Thank you. Probably bouncy houses, but and I said, well, we don't want to, we don't want bumping heads. So those are some of the events planned for Rom-con in my imagination. I said, well, this is going to be huge. Obviously, it's a con, and it's Rom. We got the name. And then I started feeling, I said, oh, this is too much. What are you doing, Scoots? Your dreams of date Mo and date Ma are just pie in the, what do they say? A flash in the pan. And I said, I don't even know what that means. I just want to run the Rom-con. And then that great guru somewhere in my subconscious said, break it into smaller pieces. And I said, what is it? I said, what are you, an infomercial in there? How much is your course to break my goals into smaller pieces? But I said to myself, okay, let's do that. So I said, okay, Rom-con, what's a piece we could break that into? I said, convention center. Okay, that's a part, right? That's one to do. Book a convention center. And then I said, okay, well, let's try this. Let's take this to another level. Book a convention center. Where do we start? Pick a convention center. So I picked one in a major metropolitan area. It was with international airport, accessible to some discount airlines. And a city that would at least get where's Rom-con being held? Like instead of, or whoa would be too expensive. And I said, the other ones, they said, so I got that one. So I said, okay, well, that narrows it down. And I picked the city and I said, okay, next, book a convention center. And then I said, okay, well, how do we book a convention center? We got to make a phone call. And 2, probably shouldn't do it as Scoots. So then I dialed up another level of method acting, watched Fletch, and I said, okay, if Fletch can do it, so can I. And so I called up and, I said, yeah, this is Randolph calling on behalf of Datemo International, trying to book, we had a funny thing that happened. We had our hopes on Dallas Love Field, but we're in a pickle here. I'm wondering if you could help me out here at your convention center. And they said, I'm sorry, where are you calling from? I said, Datemo headquarters. We're here. We're getting ready to book Rom-con for this year, and things fell through in Dallas, and so we're in a pickle. That's what I said. I really need your help. And they said, okay. And I said, so we have the Rom-con, the big con of ramming. You could put 2 and 2 together. All above board, no funny business. That's on that's on all our signs. So you could trust us. And we're getting ready to book it, and we narrowed it down, into the, well, what could we do here? Cause, things fell through. And so we're just looking at some open dates on your calendar there at this great convention center in this pretty great city. And I'm wondering if you have any openings that weekend. And they said, oh, what weekend? I said, oh, the one, well, what do you have on your calendar? Do you have anybody that canceled? And they said, as a matter of fact, Hecon just canceled. And I said, Hecon, by the power of Grayskull, they canceled. And they said, yeah, they merged with Graycon. And I said, Graycon, I said, Hecon should have, I said, neither one is, I said, He-Man Con is too much, you're right. Grayskull Con is too much, but neither Hecon nor Graycon gives, but I said, that's too bad. So Hecon left you hanging. And they said they did. And I said, well, what weekend does that happen to be? And they said, oh, this weekend. And I said, you got to be kidding me. Because it was Valentine's Day weekend. And I said, well, you better, I said, don't pencil it in for us. Get out. Do you have a permanent marker nearby? Put us down. Rom-con. Romcon. Rom-con. And I said, you've been so helpful. I said, no one, you won't miss He-Man or, whoever else, he's got like a green tiger. I said, She-Ra, Man-at-Arms, the Skeletor, and that wizard dude that floats around. And she said, I'm not familiar with any of those characters. I said, they think they're on a commercial now for, insurance. And she said, oh, yeah, I saw that. I said, yeah. I said, you could book Rom-con, book us in there. And, our billing, our invoicing and billing, they'll be in touch. I don't handle any of those things. I'm just the event planner. And, it's been a pleasure working with you forward. And we'll get everything set up. And so then this is where the fairy tale begins, as a matter of fact. The fairy tale of Rom-con. Once upon a time, there was someone that didn't know what they were doing. And they booked a convention center in a pretty decent, great city. And they came up with the name, and they were hoping for the backing, of course, of, Date Mo platform. But I guess the event, they didn't have the vision. But what they did have on their side was the name Rom-con. And holy mackerel, is that a name that is not intimidating at all, but gets people interested? And as soon as this person got off the phone, they called the rest of the staff at the convention center. They called the Chamber of Commerce because they loved romance. They loved romance novels, romance short stories, Tinglers, YA romance, romantic pamphlets. That was going to be my booth. Romanflets. That's a new genre of romance that I'm patent pending as well. Romanflets. Romance in pamphlet form. A romance in a pamphlet. A pamphlet that's romantic. Romanflets. I guess the only thing is that pamphlets are supposed to be given away for free. And you don't need Deborah McComber to tell you that if this thing really started to spread, the word about the Rom-con, this city was we're going to have Rom-con here at our city. Holy cow. And this is actually where Sleep With Me and romance novels have a kind of similarity, or romantic fiction, because when people like it, they like it. And when people don't have a familiar, people might know what it is, but they're not familiar with it, they might have a different opinion of it that's not based on the people that enjoy it. So, you know what I'm saying? They say, wait, you listen to some guy who tells you bedtime stories to put you to sleep, and maybe someone says in a dismissive way, maybe they don't even mean it. You read romance novels, and they say, well, by the way, buddy, it's a huge business, and a lot of people enjoy it. So why rain on everybody's parade, right? And you could say, okay, well, this spans like a lot of different things. Now, the only problem with that was originally I had intended it to be for the launch of my date, for dating and romance, for people to find romance, and for me to profit from it, like a lot, and also probably get, my own. Well, I said, well, we'll have time for riches or we'll have time for romance. And also, yeah, I said, well, that'd be great. But so it caught fire, and then my phone started ringing off the hook, which I had to put a, stop to very quickly, because they said, well, we'd like to, name, give you a key to the city. And I said, I'm sorry. I think I think I'm in heaven. I thought it was only the big farm in the sky, but did you just say you're going to give me a key to your city? And they said, well, for we're going to, announce that it's, Rom-con day. And I said, where does it, like I said, I know you probably get asked this question all the time, but where does the key actually work? Is it one of those big, I'll take it either way, if it's a regular size key or a big key. Yeah, it'd be great if it came with a giant symbolic key. And then also a little key that worked everywhere in the city, because not that I would use it, but that would just be good to know. Like in the future, I say, well, anything happens, I'll just go to that city because I got the key to the city. Works everywhere in the city limits. Yeah, and they only give out one a day to conventions or other stuff. Last one was that dog from the commercials with that pretends it's flies. And I said, what's a dog going to do with the key to the city? And it's actually keys to the city, by the way. Anyway, back to the story, to this great fairy tale. So I said, holy cow, I can't take another phone call. And then luckily the next phone call was like this convention. It was like a convention center. And they said, well, we want to have a meeting, with the union interests to make sure we're all on the same page in your event planning. And, some of the big, some other companies they called me were like these publishers. And I said, okay, let me get back to you about that booth space. Send your deposit, which they're more than willing to do. And lucky because I had broken up, I did look at like rate sheets for other conventions. So I said, you want to book the biggest booth? Okay, this is how much it is. So suddenly Rom-con was flush with cash, which I used to hire an actual convention planning company. I said, can you take all these phone calls and deal with this stuff? And they said, of course we can. And I said, great. Okay, take it away. And they went to work on Rom-con, and actually they did send me back some notes about the stuff I did have. So they said no bouncy houses. They said, we love the game show ideas. Would it be good if we could sponsor game shows like a publisher could have it, or an imprint, so then they could have quiz, so it'd be like a marketing tool. And I said, great, go for it. It sounds good. And they said, well, you sound a little down. Everybody's so excited about Rom-con. And I said, well, that's great. That's good to know. And they said, well, I said, well, I should probably talk about this to somebody else since you're the event planners and we're on a conference call. So don't worry about it. Just keep up the good work. Wouldn't be conning the Roms without all of you. And then Rom-con kind of took on a mind of its own. And maybe you heard about all this, or maybe you weren't, maybe you just didn't live in this Midwest city or travel in the circles, or maybe you just happened to be asleep when all of this was happening. But people got excited. Their favorite authors were going to be there. It was so big. Fabio was coming, but not like one of the biggest draws. That's how big it was. And, and I did say, okay, let's focus on getting it's great. We got the corporate, the big wigs, the big players. And, let's really stretch this out now because let's use their money, to diversify it. So maybe get some erotica in there, the tinglers, but this was before, so I didn't actually have any connections to Chuck. So, and he I think it all happened. And I said, why, let's get it really diverse culturally, age-wise. And I said, make sure it's fun because you can't have a rom-con. And they said, well, what else do you want to do? And I said, how about dances? I said, instead of forget those friggin' cocktail hours and stuff like that. I said, you have dances. And I said, you could, but maybe, I said that prom stuff's already, the third prom's already been done. So I said, I said, I don't know what a jitterbug is. Though I can hear George Michael whispering it in my ear to do it. But I said, what about a jitterbug night? And then I said, what about a wham? Then at 10 p.m. wham party. Or George Michael and Wham. And I said, 100% Dayglow, with Dayglow paints. And they said, how many rom-coms have you done? And I said, I think I'm a little feverish. When I started, I said, I don't know what just happened. Did I say something? And they said, okay, what's the next night, after hours, and I said, well, square dancing. I said, is that already over or have we reached peak square dancing yet? And they said, And they said, you're right. We need another level to it. And I said, I've got it. A square dance masquerade, squaxternade or something. And they said, I'm sorry. And I said, you don't need to be. I said, it's a masquerade square dance. You take a masquerade ball. And then you square dance at it, and everybody gets cowpoke hats, whichever kind of cowpoke hat you want will have different sizes, different colors, different shapes. And I said, and then the whole masquerade thing. And they said, okay. They said, I can almost see it. I said, yeah, you wouldn't believe it. I said, I'm thinking about we should have hobby horses. But I said, there's no funny business at Rom-con. Remember that. There's fun business, and, there's subtext, holy subtext, am I right? Yeah, they said that's what everybody doesn't say, but they mean. And I said, yeah, but no, and they said, we totally understand. And they said, I could just see the hobby horse that would encourage people, and they said, yeah, okay. I said, we should probably move on. I said, okay, so that'll be, I said, I think we need an after party. But I think if we did, we could have Bette Midler bedtime melodies. And they said, what? And I said, that's what we'll do. I said, we can't afford Bette Midler this rom-con. I said, but we'll get a Bette Midler impersonator. I said, whoever we find, it doesn't matter. I said, let's cross, do a worldwide search. I don't want a Bette Midler tribute band. I'd prefer someone that captures the essence of Bette Midler. And it's a Bette Midler bedtime melody. And they said, it sounds a little bit like a weird version of Sleep With Me. And I said, kind of, like Bette Midler would sing, we'll stream it so people could listen in their rooms. And, yeah, she'll sing bedtime melodies and Bette Midler songs and, bedtime songs in the vein of Bette Midler. And people could go. And I said, it'd be good for the hand-holding portion. And I said, and they could have slow dancing. At that. So that'll be after party. And I said, that's probably enough after parties, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, rom-cons, that's the time to say, oh, man, romance is really at the big farm in the sky. That's what we'll say at the end of rom-con. And they said, great job. I said, okay, that's all the phone calling I can handle. And then they wanted to, I needed to make all these other decisions. So then I just said, let's just hire a CEO to do all that. And they said, well, you're the spirit of Rom-con. I said, you don't even know who I like. They said, yeah, you're just a person that doesn't like to answer their phones. And I said, yeah, Scoots is the name. Rom-con was not the game. It was supposed to be, they said, but these after parties are kind of feeling romantic. And they said, yeah, that's why we were given pause. That doesn't, and I said, yeah, it's like living romance at Rom-con after dark, living romance. And they said, what is that? And I said, well, that actually is a daytime human sculpture garden, which the publishers will pay for as well. I said, no, we don't want to I said, talk about objectifying and idolizing. But I said, what if we get to cover? I said, it's just a reality that those cover models are of all. I said, I want it not just with the big publishers, though. I said, I want to see a Triceratops up there from a Tingler or something and other things. I said, he said, you know what I mean? It'd be a living sculpture garden. And they said, well, we'll think about that. When I said, you're right, it is, I said that, I said, okay, maybe I guess I've had too much human interaction. But then I had to remember so much stuff. So then they hired me an assistant, but just for Rom-con related stuff, which didn't do me any good because they said, how did I get myself into this anyway? And so then I had to do all these reminders. That's like, I guess it wasn't really a Rom-con because it constantly had to like have all these notifications of stuff I had to sign. And then we did but I did get to do a lot of planning, which especially since I don't really have any experience was good because all of these, I said, okay, I want this to break even. Like, let's find ways to use the money creatively. And they said, well, we could get some panels. These are the panels we have, the industry panels, the fan panels, author panels. So for people that want to write romance or be in the romance business, they said, what about starting a dating app and a conference based on a dating app that goes in a whole another direction? And they said, we don't think there's a demand. And they said, okay, so the fan panels are like, I said, okay. I said, they said, that's what we need to help with. We got the author panels booked out. I said, you got a wide range of authors, right? Because I can't have, just like Deborah McComber on every panel. And they said, I said, okay, only one DM post, I said, what in the name of J.D. Roth am I thinking? And then they said, Rob, and I said, take your Nora Roberts and get out of here. And they said, okay, are you ready to work out? And I said, okay, sorry, I just had to get that out of my system. I know, no. And they said, yeah, you should have quit it when you were ahead. And I said, okay, here's what I'm thinking for the fan panels is we have a fiction. Here's a new thing that all the cons are doing that you might not have heard about because you're not in the con circuit like I am. Fictional panels. And they said, I'm sorry, what? And I said, fictional panels. It's a new thing. It's panels, but they're fictional. And they said, what do you mean, fictional panels? I said, well, we'll have characters on panel, not, the actress and the actresses, he said, this is where we will have characters playing, I said, kind of like from that sculpture garden, but this is a way around it that's, more like not they're just standing on pedestals, which you were right. That was a bad idea, but this one isn't. And I said, we'll have a couple different characters from a couple different books. Again, I want wide panels. And then the audience can just ask some questions. We'll have a moderator which will be a romance author whose characters is not on the panel. Each panel will be themed. And they said, what would be a theme? And I said, like, farm romance. Romance is based on farms. And I said, well, you get some characters from some farm-based romances, the big ones and some smaller ones, a couple self-published. And then the moderator would go through and see, ask them to introduce themselves. And I said, where do you get? I said, we'll cast them. I said, and the people will have to have read, I said, well, that's how we're going to blow through all this big money we're getting from the publishers. I said, giving actors and actresses a little more work. And I said, hire local, then L.A. And they said, okay. And they said, you can't, you don't get paid unless you're on, because it's going to be maybe just improv people, but they have to have read the books. Otherwise, they're fired. And they said, well, what would be another panel? I said, it's romance and science. And they said, okay. And I said, do you need me romance in the arts? They said, you could come up with some. I believe in you. I believe in the power of romance and the power of convention team. Plus, I'm getting worn out, so I don't want to do any more. And they said, okay, well, it sounds good. And then they had another meeting with me as Rom-con approached, because they said, okay, Scoots, this is your vision. And they also said, you need to sign here, which, of course, probably signed away all my, I said, okay, that's fine. I said, one rom-con's enough for me. But they said, this is your vision. Everybody was so happy, and they looked at me, I guess, like Santa Claus, the Santa Claus of rom-con, but just a much stranger version, where they said, okay, well, we like, I guess like Santa Claus, not many people would be like, hey, Santa, let's go out to lunch and just talk and not talk about North Pole stuff. That wouldn't happen, really. You'd say, yeah, taking you out of context, I'm not totally comfortable with you, Kringle. I mean, you wouldn't say that to Santa's face, but you say, what would we talk, if we were at McDonald's, what would we talk about after we talk about the McNuggets or whatever? You'd say, okay, we're not allowed to talk about North Pole or elves or Mrs. Claus. So that's kind of like what the staff of Rom-con, I think, viewed me in the same way. But they were concerned about me participating. And they said, we need you there and stuff, just to sign, especially to sign things. And I said, well, I'll be undercover. And they said, what does that mean? I said, I'm going to have a booth. I sold a booth, a small size, which is a card table size, to myself. And I'm going to have romanflets, a romance in a pamphlet. I'm going to write those. I'm going to have those. I'll be there signing them. And they said, that sounds like just your pace. And I said, yeah, it won't be a lot of demand or interest. I realize that it's be an idea before its time, or that missed its time, maybe. When was the height of pamphlets? When was the height of fiction and pamphlet, the fictional pamphlet movement? And then they said, okay, then they said, we got to get on our next conference call. I said, okay. And they said, great. And so then I got, the day came for Rom-con. Now, luckily, I was totally able to stay anonymous. No one knew that I was the creator, the accidental visionary. I mean, I don't want to take too much credit because I just saw it in the name, which probably is being used anyway. And then I did all that. I got my booth. Then I had to go to the friggin'. I said, this doesn't come with a card table? And they said that was on the forms. And I said, I freaking founded a Rom-con. I got to get my own chair and table. And then I didn't have it. I actually, I just got a printer. So I actually hadn't printed out any pamphlets. So I had brought paper and I did it. And I said, what is it? I said, how do I want my pamphlets? In a 3-fold or a 4-fold? I said, how do you fold for pamphlets anyway? But I did have my sign, and I was in it was interesting because I was in the smaller booth section, the sticks, and I was next to one self-published author who was reminded me of me, and she was claimed that she wrote Shape of Water style. That's the type of self-published. And I said, oh, that's, but she kind of said, I said, well, it's great with that. It's reaching a wider audience. And I said, I didn't know if that was romance or desperation in that film, to be honest, like a clinging, for comfort, versus like a romance. And she said, maybe you should write a pamphlet about that. And I said, maybe I will. I said, well, what should I title it? How to Love a Seaman? And then she rolled her eyes at that one. And I said, a mer person. And she said, I thought you said it wasn't about love. I said, well, he said, well, why don't I read it? So then I read her book, but it was the one about, it was about the dude with the bolts, Frankie. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So I never did any pamphlets that day. And then I went to the dances that night, and I didn't stay for the jitterbug. I just said, okay, I said, that's too many steps. And they had world-class jitterbuggers there. In jitterbug instructions, and I just kept saying, how many jitterbugs would a jitterbug jug if a jitterbug could jug jugs? How many like I said, see? And then they said, are you going to do any jitterbugging? And I said, juggling, the juggling jitterbug. I'm going to go back and work on a pamphlet. So then I went back to the hall, worked on a pamphlet about that. And then I stopped by the Wham show, or like a Wham dance. And that was actually fun. And actually, it was really, everybody was just dancing with, when people are joyously dancing in day-glow colors. And I was anonymous, so I was, except then somebody said, you're the romamphlet person. And I said, I am what I am. I'm a pamphlet writing romance person. And then I said, tonight I'm here to dance. I'm not here to do the jitterbug, except when George Michael says to do the jitterbug. So I danced. I even put some Day-Glow paints on me, and that was fun. And very, everybody was having fun. So I said, well, that worked great. Then the next day I slept in. I went to a couple of the game shows, and I would shout, I'll take a hand holding for 500, Alec. And then everybody would look at me, ranch hands for 400. And then they say, okay, but you're not a contestant. And they say, oh, no, I said, that's real. You said, you're serious, huh? And they said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, innkeepers' wives for 200. And they say, okay, can you not? And I said, okay, I'll go. Sorry about this. Sorry. I said, that's peak Rom-con for me. Then I went back, and people actually, I had this idea. I stole it from PodCon, and because I knew I was going to sleep in, and when I was the night before, when I went to write that pamphlet about whatever it was, instead I said, make your own romanphlets. And I had the example of the one I thought of that I already forgot. And I said, it's a pamphlet it's a romance, it's a pamphlet, make your own. And then when I got to my booth, there was like thousands of romanflets the guests had made. And some people had made them and taken them. And there was art supplies that people had brought and left there. And that was really touching. And looking through all the romanflets is really creative. And they said, I didn't know how many wild ideas people could put into a pamphlet about romance and fictional romance. Then I went to one of the fictional panels, and that went really good. The audience loved that. Some of the actors I had to, write down that they didn't read the books, but the ones that did, that were really into it, they did a great job. So that was great. And I did not go to I couldn't figure out a way. I said, well, I don't like wearing masquerades or whatever that thing's called, square dancing or kerchiefs. So I skipped to that dance and I listened to it, and I walked around and kind of saw everybody enjoying Rom-con. Even like everybody who seemed to have a good time, like not just, the actors, the buyers, the bookstore owners. Who would have thought? They said, I didn't even appreciate all that. And people were talking about their concerns with the business. I think I saw Chuck. I said, Chuck, is that you? Like somebody gave me a thumbs up. So I said, okay, that's cool. And then that was it. Then the next day was the end of Rom-con. And I thought to myself, holy cow, like who would have thought that another idea, who would have thought that by taking an idea that I wanted to work and breaking it into parts and then just under false pretenses booking a convention center would work out so good. And, I didn't need anyone to remind me of that there's no idea that's too wacky to give a shot, especially when people can have fun and share what they enjoy and expose people to new things that they can enjoy. So, it was a fairy tale that ended well. Good night. I want to thank everybody for the show on Patreon. Jenny, Ken, and Matt. Thanks, and good night. The little piece. Kelsey and Gwen. Thanks, and good night. Wendy, Melissa, and Patrick. Thanks, and good night. Teo, Joseph, and Martha. Thanks, and good night. Joaquin, Jay, and Ashley. Thanks, and good night. Shanurley, Cindy and Nathan, thanks, and good night. Patience, Vix and Naomi, thanks, and good night. Caitlin, Michelle, and Aaron, thanks, and good night. Laura, Benny, and Anna, thanks, and good night. Jenny, Claire, and Karen, thanks, and good night. Cayenne, Adam, and Lindsay, thanks, and good night. Kimberly, Stacy, and Kath. Christine, thanks, and good night. Millern, Jeremy, and Jan, thanks, and good night. Carl, Alicia, and Caitlin, thanks, and good night. Amy, Erica, and Letitia, thanks, and good night. Garrett, and Erica, and Phyllis, thanks, and good night. Julian, Tiffany, and Wendy, thanks, and good night. Bonnie, Logan, and Jenny, thanks, and good night. Stacy, Nicole, and Samantha, thanks, and good night. May, Kay, and Amy, thanks, and good night. Barbara, Pedro, and Allison, thanks, and good night. Cara, Larissa, and Jordan, thank you, thanks, and good night. Patty, Syed, and Allison, thanks, and good night. Nicola, Smoky Cat, and Nate, thank you, thanks, and good night. Lois, Laura, and Lizzie, thanks, and good night. Catherine, Aaron, and Ava, thanks, and good night. Matt and Jessica, thank you, thanks, and good night. And Melissa and Pamela, thank you, thanks, and good night. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots. Before we tuck you in, remember, if you listen all night long, you don't even have to hear this message. If you were a patron, you wouldn't be hearing this right now. A lot of people that were all-night listeners that converted to becoming a patron tell me how much they get out of it. So if you listen to the show on a regular basis, you listen to it all night long, or you just really love the podcast and you want to say, hey, I love the podcast, I get so much out of it. Scoots, let me give you something back. Sleepwithmepodcast.com/patron. 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 Thanks, everybody.